What's going on? Got a comparison review for you. As promised, I got the Monster DNA versus the Beats by Dr. Dre Solo HD Special Edition. Overall, I think both headphones are okay for the $200 price range. I think there's probably some better options out there, but if you are hell-bent on going with the Beats or going with the Monster brand, then maybe this will help you out a little bit on your decision. So I decided to package these up in their native form so you could see the size of how they would package up in relation to each other. The Monster comes in this pouch, just a little drawstring on here. Got this guy. Not really a secure packing job. It doesn't really have a home, it's just a pouch, so it's going to rattle around in there a little bit, but I do think that these are built a little more solid than the Beats, so I would say that it's better than just flopping around in your backpack, in other words. Okay, put that over here. Then we got the Beats Solo HD. These are packaged a lot better. I like the way that they did this case. It is a soft case, but it's a decently made soft case. These guys, I really like this red color of the Beats. It's a very striking red. I think they did a great job with their color selection, and I can see why people would want to buy these from an aesthetic standpoint, just from the looks alone. Alright, so let's get them assembled. Just regular folding. Boom. Fold these guys out. There we go. Now on the Monsters, you've got a choice. You can put your plug in either side. So you can just plug it in right here, and you can actually share audio with these. You can have somebody else plug their headphones in here, and it acts as almost a splitter where it can feed your audio into somebody else's headphones. So that's kind of a neat feature if you're into sharing audio. And the Beats have just a single plug in the left ear cup right here. So there those are. Now, design-wise, I think Monster did a great job. This is their first run at it since separating the Beats name, and the build quality seems to be a little bit better than the Beats in general. Not as great looking aesthetic-wise, but it's the build quality is there, so that's the important thing. You know, the last thing you want is to spend a couple $100 on a pair of headphones and have them break on you. Yep, very solid plastic. As you can see, it does not rattle. The ear extension is fairly smooth, not too hard, not too soft. I feel like it's going to stay there. This headband is a rubbery material. Not too bad. All plastic design, of course. These are pleather ear pads. The Beats design, same plastic design, a little more flimsy. Not as flimsy as the Beats Studios though. I feel like these are made just a little bit better. They may have the same design process, but these are lighter, so they're a little more stronger because of it. I don't feel like I'm gonna break them as easily. So these ear cups do rattle. They're pivoting kind of like the Beats Studios, so I do worry about that a little bit because this is all plastic mechanism right here, and it's kind of asking for trouble. Same with these hinges. This is a metal piece connected to a plastic part inside there, so I worry about it a little bit. Extension is not too bad. It does what it needs to and stays there when you put it out. And again, pleather ear pads. Getting into comfort, I noticed I was able to wear the Beats a little longer than the Monsters. These ear pads are much softer than the Monsters. I think they conform to the ear a little better, where these pleather ear pads are, as you can see, are just a much more solid foundation. And I was able to wear the Beats for around maybe an hour before they hurt my head, and the Monsters I was able to wear for maybe a half hour before I started noticing ear pain. So comfort wise, it was pretty on the side of the Beats. The headband, however, I didn't notice on either. I think the ear cups support the weight of the headphones enough to where you don't really worry about the headband. Getting into sound quality, the Monsters are pretty good for the price point that they are at. I think they are a decent quality headphone, and I would definitely put them over the Beats overall when it comes to sound quality. The lows are much better on the Monsters than the Beats. The bass extension is much better, more crisp. The highs are more clear. The mids are more prevalent, and they are much easier to drive as a result of it. I actually plugged both of these into both of my amps. I have the Shit Audio Magni and I have the FiO E11, and neither one of these liked being amped. They are way too easy to drive to be amped. So keep that in mind when you're selecting headphones, that these are mainstream headphones, not made for hi-fi audio equipment. The Beats have the classic Beats accentuated bass, but not to the point of the Studios. These sound much better than the Studios, from my honest opinion. The lows are, they're there. The mids are fairly drowned out by the synthetic bass, and the highs are pretty rolled off. It's really hard to pick out fine highs with this headphone. So definitely the sound quality goes to the Monsters with this one. So overall, I would love to give the design to the Beats because I do love that color, but as far as build quality goes, I have to give design to the Monsters because they are a much more solid headphone for the money, the same amount of money. And comfort quality, I would have to give to the Beats. These are a more comfortable headphone to wear for a longer period of time. Sound quality wise, I'd have to give it to the Monster. The DNAs do a phenomenal job for the $200 price point. However, if you are in the market for a $200 pair of headphones, on ear design, that is, I would urge you to check out the v-moda M80s. They are a phenomenal headphone, and you can find them online, places like Amazon and other online retailers for around $150. So it's a bargain at that price when you compare them to these. The whole sound range is much more refined on those headphones, so check them out. And I think that's it. If you have any comments, questions, or requests, go ahead and leave a comment, subscribe, and I will get to them as soon as I can. Thanks for watching the comparison review on the Monster DNA and Beats by Dr. Dre Solo HD Special Edition. I'll catch you later.